Another exciting episode of Business Roundup. This week, the civil society organizations react to Uganda's debt burden. The Chira Smart vehicle also being test-driven by our producer, Dennis Sigor. And then on the international scene, Zimbabwe people are not happy because fuel prices have been doubled. My name is Wadilo Mark Arnold, and it's time for business. In our first story, stakeholders in the agriculture sector have met to discuss strategies on improving agricultural production and productivity in the year 2019. Some of the strategies include increased ICT adoption and mechanization with specific interest in making agriculture a family business.
Last year, Ugandan maize was rejected by Kenya due to poor quality. It has since been a priority for the Ugandan agriculture sector stakeholders to ensure this never happens again.
Plenty of thousands of bags rejected, not only last year but the other year, and this was because the quality was very poor.
The agriculture sector has faced challenges that range from drought, poor quality produce, low mechanization, and an imbalanced ratio of extension workers, among others.
One extension worker expected to reach out to 2,500 farmers. Even if you calculate, one time we calculated throughout the year, one extension worker cannot reach out to all these farmers.
You know that the major problem in mechanization is the cost of the machine or the technology. So then with our strategy of helping private service providers go into this type of business, we are able to help farmers now to use these types of machines.
To address some of these challenges, the stakeholders have proposed the following measures.
We put in place a model, the community-based facilitators model, that can help to bridge this gap. Together with the community, we identify a farmer among the communities who is trainable, who is willing to train others, and can give advice to fellow farmers.
Government has been partnered with the Chinese government to establish a national production of fertilizer factory in Tororo. And now it's in advanced stages. I think in a year or two, it should be fully operational.
Agriculture remains the major source of livelihood in Uganda, growing at a rate of 2.8% per year in the last 8 years. It presents immense opportunities for growth in other sectors like manufacturing, especially agro-processing. However, the diverse challenges need to be addressed through proper implementation of the proposed strategies as per the Agriculture Sector Strategic Plan. Charlotte Muge, UBC Business.
Civil society organizations have continued to critique the nature in which government is currently handling its debt burden. The Uganda Debt Network and CSBAG asserted the need to find better, efficient and non-detrimental means of servicing Uganda's debt, especially being clear on the paying terms with the lenders. Last week, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Matia Kasaija, said that government borrowing was in control. He was responding to media reports which reported contrary to government debt.
I would like to correct this information to indicate that government borrowing is absolutely controlled and guided by the Public Debt Management Framework.
Uganda's current debt stock stands at 41.3 trillion shillings, which translates to $10.7 billion US. On the other hand, Juliet Akelo, an expert on policy, explains the increasing debt burden.
When you consider that 10 years ago, our debt was at about $1.9 billion US, and now we are talking about $10 billion US. That is an increase of about 296%. Uganda has a challenge of mismatching investment budget to the increasing capacity for investing. We want a lot of money, however, we don't have the capacity to invest.
Uganda's total debt stock to GDP is currently below 50% of the regional threshold. With the accruing interest on the debt, civil society's major concern is what the lenders like China and Japan will do if Uganda fails to pay.
More what we need to be thinking, the risk with China is, when we default, shall we be forgiven? Uganda has been forgiven so far like 3 times. First, $650 million, then around 2000, another $800 million. If that loan is for China and we default, will they forgive us?
We have examples where China has taken over some ports. We have one in Sri Lanka. It's called Hambantota Port. That has been taken over by China. I heard the minister saying, no, you see, we are still very okay, but it's a worry. We need to do something about it before it happens. We have Gwadara Port in Pakistan that was also taken over by China, and many others.
From government outlook, debt financing will be approached through reduction of budget allocation to various sectors like education, health, social development, environment, agriculture, water and sanitation. This will amount to 34% of the coming national budget. For UBC, Wadulo Mark Arnold. 500 villages from across the country have benefited from a China-supported digital TV program. Spearheaded by StarTimes Uganda, the program seeks to connect the rural populace to high-quality and rich TV programs. The Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga, graced over the closing ceremony of the initiative in Kamuli District. Dennis Sigor reports.
The Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga, has hailed Uganda and China's blossoming bilateral ties, gracing over the completion ceremony of access to satellite TV for 10,000 African villages of Uganda in Kamuli District. Kadaga underscored the importance of the media in fostering socio-economic development.
Now, you know, this district, I have more than 700 villages. Now we have 120. You know, not even halfway. So I want you to tell the president of China that the demand is high. 12 million shillings for Uganda, for a rich country like China. So, okay, it's nice, but it's a bit small. I think, you know, we are your allies, we're your friends. So I think a bigger shot in the arm would help so that we have a bit more coverage so that our people can get better exposure.
The analog to digital TV broadcast migration program, supported by the Chinese government and implemented by the StarTimes digital TV service provider, has benefited 500 villages in Uganda. 20 villages in Kamuli benefited.
During this project implementation, a total of 500 TV sets, 10,000 satellite TV sets, and 1,000 TV projects with 1,500 solar systems have been installed in countrywide. This makes the total investment is over 11 million US dollar in Uganda.
The digital to analog migration was highlighted as one of the major drivers of development by the former State Minister for ICT, Nyombi Thembo. While representing the regulator, Uganda Communication Commission, at the event, the former Minister for ICT noted the importance of developmental content, which he said can be emulated by many Ugandans for livelihood improvement.
The Commission shall continue to pursue our investor-friendly regulatory framework geared towards ICT for all, a regulatory framework that respects the rights of the viewers, gender-sensitive, and that promotes peace, unity, and prosperity of our people. We therefore enjoin all content producers, aggregators, and broadcasters to ensure that the content we give to our people promotes enterprise, empowerment, and functional entertainment.
The project, a China-Africa program, is aimed at enabling African families in rural areas access a digital signal with high-quality images and rich TV programs. Dennis Igor for UBC News in Kamuli District.
At least 2 million tourists visited Uganda in 2018, making it the most successful year for the tourism industry. It is a milestone for the country, says Godfrey Chiwanda, the Minister for State for Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities. With a 2019 target of 3 million visitors, every Ugandan has a positive role to play, concurs the sector stakeholders. The tourism fraternity has unveiled the 2019 theme. This was at the stakeholders event held at the Golden Tulip Hotel in Kampala. With the tourist numbers hitting a 2 million milestone in 2018, the State Minister for Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities underscored the need to tell the most interesting Ugandan stories to the world.
Our theme of the year is sharing our story in order to achieve big tourism numbers through the digital transformation era 2019.
Although 2018 is seen as a remarkable year in terms of visitors' numbers, the year also had its doom and gloom. The poisoning of the Hamukungu lion's pride and the capsizing of a boat with revealers on Lake Victoria were cited. The Uganda Wildlife Authority and Conservation Agency, the Uganda Tourism Board and promotional agencies promised to up their game in the new year.
Because at times you see people like almost angels, you know.
We want to continue acquiring equipment, and this year we are looking at a number of things. Get vehicles for field work, probably throw in a helicopter.
This year, we are going to even go bigger on campaigns. We are going to relaunch Tulamble, the big and reloaded Tulamble, using different influencers. Like I said, we worked with Zari last year. We are going to work with other people as well. Her inclusive, we are going to work with Anne Kansime, the different people that have a following.
Tourism is one of the highest revenue earners for Uganda and is playing a critical role in fostering development through its value chains. However, its full potential is yet to be exploited, argued stakeholders from the private and public sector. For rapid progress, collaboration was emphasized.
We must go digital. This is actually a wake-up call that as Ugandans, if we are to market this destination, we must go digital.
For UBC Business, Wadulo Mark Arnold. In our corporate wrap, the National Social Security Fund joined the Uganda Red Cross and the Uganda Blood Transfusion Services to collect 6,000 units of blood across the country. In Kampala, Owino Market, the Constitutional Square, Mukwano Arcade and the NSSF headquarters are earmarked for the exercise.
Uganda's blood market is highly dependent on blood donors. However, with the increasing population and accident rate, the gap between the blood needed and that available is far widening.
Until yesterday, this was a service that was largely dependent on donor funding. And so donors come and go. They can't clean your house. They come and go. And so in the process, the predictability of the funding, whether directly at UBTS or whether to Red Cross, was always up and down, and in the process we are always having these shortages.
Last year, the annual drive targeted 4,500 units of blood, but this year, the stakeholders hope to collect 600 units from heartly donors.
We have been doing this for 9 years, so just correct the numbers. This is our 9th year, and we have been targeting to do at least 6,000 units. And so far, within this partnership, we've been able to collect over 20,000 units.
However, there seems to be issues of selling and buying of blood. Dr. Dorth Cheyune of the Uganda Blood Transfusion Services asserts that blood is neither bought or sold.
Blood is given free of charge to both government and private hospitals. And even on the label itself, there is blood is not for sale. So whoever buys blood and whoever sells blood commits an offense.
Mulago Hospital reportedly utilizes 80% of the blood donated across the country. Codenamed NSSF Blood Drive, the initiative is supported by the Uganda Red Cross and will take place at the Constitutional Square, Workers' House, St. Balikudembe Market, Mukwano Arcade, and all the NSSF branches across the country. David Matovu for UBC.
And still in the corporate trap, Chira's Mark prototype has been on a test drive on the streets of Kampala city. The hybrid vehicle is one of the new innovations by Uganda's Chira Motors. The two-door saloon car is currently being exhibited at Parliament. And Professor Tikodri Togboa, the chairman of Chira Motors, is hoping that the exhibition will boost government's confidence in the project and allocate more resources for commercialization.
Sometime back we said vehicles would be out last year. But of course there are the logistics, the funding, and at that time when we talked about it, we had just launched the business case. So the roadmap at that time indicated if funds and all these facilities had been provided as we had outlined in the business case, then we would have had this thing last year. But nonetheless, last year in April, government finally approved the plan to commercialize it. So since that time, we have now been moving through the processes of getting actually this commercialization on board. As I speak now, we have of course the land which was allocated some time back. We have done the geotechnical engineering, whether we can build those huge structures that will stand test of time. We have taken water to the site.
Lastly for me, it's about how unique is the Chira Spark from the other prototypes?
The first car we brought out was pure electric. It was running on the battery. Now, this is, if you like, a combination. Internal combustion is based on the petrol. You could have used other fuels as well. And then the battery-operated component is hybrid. In other words, I think that's the terminology we use. So that when you're in town, you can ideally run on the battery. But when you're out, like I said, you're going to my village, which is 500 kilometers away, you need to kick. So that is when you switch in or kick in the internal combustion engine. So this is a hybrid.
The recent protests in Zimbabwe over a sharp hike in the price of fuel have negatively impacted the country's transport sector. The hike, which makes Zimbabwe the most expensive country in the world to fill a car, meant that petrol prices rose from 1.24 a litre to 3.31, and diesel went up from $1.36 a litre to $3.11. The fuel hike has led to protests in the streets of Harare, Zimbabwe's capital.
Heavily armed soldiers in the streets. After 3 days of protest, a daily routine in Zimbabwe's capital, Harare. Shops are closed, public institutions are not working, people are desperate.
Very frightened. But yeah, maybe we don't know where we are going.
Just staying at home, just going to work, assuming as if everything is normal, is not normal.
While President Emerson Mnangagwa is on an extended trip to Russia and the Davos meeting to search for funds, authorities back at home clamped down on the protesters. On Wednesday, police arrested Pastor Mawarire. The pastor and prominent critic of the government is accused of supporting street protests.
They are alleging that he has incited violence through Twitter and other forms of social media.
The government suspects that Zimbabwe's political opposition is behind the violence.
The events of the last 36 hours were not spontaneous. These were well-planned attacks against the peace-loving Zimbabwe people.
But the opposition said that spurring living conditions have left ordinary Zimbabweans no choice but to protest.
It is the cost of living that is adjusted which has caused people to complain. Fuel prices, unavailability, food prices, unavailability, lack of jobs.
This week, the government hiked fuel prices after announcing a national shortage. Zimbabwe's fuel became the most expensive in the world. Street protests have diminished, but there has been a coordinated stay-at-home protest organized by the country's trade unions aimed at protesting dire living conditions and no end in sight.
again, from the domestic side, still where the risk really lies, we are above that threshold already. So if you're looking for indicators that will tell you we are doing badly, look at that one. It's supposed to be 40%, we're at 40.1%, you know? So it goes into the whole discussion of we need to borrow, but to understand what are the expenditure pushers, what are those spending priorities that are pushing us into this borrowing frenzy. And indeed, the development economists told us we need infrastructure development to unlock our growth trajectory, but they didn't tell us to do it all in 1 year. It's a scenario of getting medication for a disease, and you want to shock the virus by taking all of it at once. You might shock yourself into death. So the medicine we have is right. We are saying, let us take it as prescribed. Okay? Overdosing on borrowing for the sake of unlocking ourselves into growth has potential adverse effects. And indeed, we are not going to spend enough on where we need to spend it. We've already seen sectors that have had, all the social sectors combined, the 5 that we know of them, have had a 12% budget cut for 1920. 3 areas, which is interest payments, works and transport and energy, are alone taking about 47% of our budget. 3 elements. And then the others, where many of us relate with government, are going to squeeze in.
Last week's episode of Sounds of Business, we were in Ngamba Island, the chimpanzee sanctuary. This week, we take you to eastern Uganda on the slopes of Mount Elgon. Located in Kapchorwa district, Sipi Falls is a major tourist attraction. Abseiling, hiking, culture tourism and coffee tourism are some of the main tourist attractions. Sipi's longest water drop is 100 meters. Enjoy.
I didn't expect to be cold, and I've forgotten how it was. Yeah, I've ever been cold, but this time it was But anyway, perfect, I made it.
As we wrap up this week's episode of Business Roundup, I'd love to leave you with a call for caution. Security starts with you. If you see something suspicious around you, please do not take it for granted. A few days ago, our brothers in Kenya suffered a terrorist attack, something which we know can be avoided if everybody stays vigilant. My name is Wadulo Mark Arnold. Catch me on the next episode, same time, same place. From the team and I, it's goodbye.